Warning: the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Warning: this video may contain explicit descriptions of drug use, violence, and sexual situations. Viewer discretion is advised as this content may not be suitable for all audiences.
Hello and welcome to this video. We are continuing our journey through the Kingdom of Fear with Hunter S. Thompson. We finished up the last couple of videos. We've been finishing up with the 1968 Democratic Convention and getting into his run for sheriff. So, without further ado, let's get this show on the road.
He shook his head, still grinning. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, but I think it's going to be a landslide. Then he opened a beer and began helping his photographer, who was busy wiring strobe lights to the ceiling, so they could shoot the victory celebration in color. It was going to be a hell of a story.
Yeah, unfortunately, history tells a different story.
And especially for Life, because they had an angle that nobody else could touch. They'd only been in town about 24 hours, but when they arrived at our headquarters on Monday morning, they were confronted with a really mind-bending scene. Here was the candidate, the next sheriff of Aspen, and indeed all of Pitkin County, Colorado, raving crazily about Armageddon and pounding on a desk with a big leather sap. We had been up all night dealing with a violent personal crisis that...
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, to be honest with you. I could just see the reporter showing up to all that crazy.
It would have blown the whole campaign out of the water if we hadn't contained it. And by 10 o'clock on Monday, we were half hysterical with fatigue, drink, and a general sense of relief that there was nothing else to be done. At least by me.
Yeah, when it's in the voters' hands, it's in the voters' hands.
Pierre Landry had the poll watching teams organized. Bill Noonan was still getting our sample ballots printed. Solheim had a full schedule of radio ads laid out for Monday and Tuesday, and Ed Bastian was putting together a vast telephone network to get the vote out. That Monday was the first day in a month that I felt able to relax and let my head run.
Yeah, I imagine running a campaign like that, especially in the early 70s. Ooh, that had to have been crazy. I mean, not that it's any more sane today, but, you know, the dollar amounts are just bigger.
Which is precisely what I was doing when the Life team walked in and found me laughing about freak power and what a fantastic shuck we had run on the liberals.
Yeah. Yep, he did.
We'll put those fuckers on trial starting Wednesday, I shouted. Paul, do you have the list? Maybe we should start reading it on the radio today. Paul Davidson grinned. Yeah, we'll start rounding the bastards up tomorrow night, but we need money for Mace. Do you have any? Don't worry, I said. We have plenty of money, and plenty of mescaline to sell if we need more.
Yep. That's good old Hunter. Well, that's the whole mood of the early 70s. Nixon went and outlawed a bunch of shit, and so all this stuff became underground, and the prices skyrocketed. I have a personal theory that any politician that opposes legalization of things like marijuana, magic mushrooms, lysergic acid diethamide 25, are receiving campaign contributions from the drug cartels, because they're the ones that get hurt by legalization, so they want to keep it illegal. So they're going to pay your politicians to tell you how bad it is and keep it illegal, so the people go out and buy it at an inflated price on the streets. Supply and demand, people. Supply and demand. So remember, when your politicians are telling you that these drugs are bad, they're getting money from the cartels. Or that's my theory.
Get the mace, get several gallons, and some double-aught buckshot. Within 2 hours...
Yeah, double-aught buckshot tends to get people's hearts right real fast. If not, it gets their hearts right with God.
Hours after the polls closed, the Battle of Aspen was over. At least that's how it looked at the time, from the eye of the shit rain. Freak Power bombed early that night, and we didn't need an RCA 1060 to project the final result, even after the early returns showed us winning. But not by enough. The early returns came from our hardcore freak strongholds in the middle and east end of town. We won handily in precincts 1, 2, and 3. But our voter turnout was too light, and the margin it gave us was not nearly enough to overcome the landslide that we knew was about to come down on us from suburban Agnewville and the down country trailer courts.
I like that. The Agnewville. I like that. Don't know if it's a real thing, but the fact that Spiro Agnew was the vice president at the time, and that's when the Richard Nixon and the Republican Party started targeting and trying to get the uneducated, easy manipulated out to vote.
The backlash vote was kicking in, and the doom message was obvious in the eyes of our poll watchers about halfway through the day. They refused to confirm it, but I think we all knew. So somewhere around dusk, we began loading up on mescaline, tequila, hash, beer, and whatever else we could get our hands on.
Now, you take out the alcohol, the mescaline, the hash, keep that, but the alcohol is what fucks you up. Somebody who has been both pass out drunk and completely stoned out of my gourd in my lifetime, I'd rather be stoned, because the next day when you sober up, you do not have the problems that you do with alcohol.
And after that, it was only a matter of fucking with the national press and waiting for the axe to fall. Our elegant Hotel Jerome headquarters was a total madhouse. Everybody in the place seemed to have a long black microphone the size of a baseball bat.
Yeah, I remember that. If you watch, like, even into the 80s, like press conferences and stuff, occasionally, like, they'll pan and you'll catch those they're on the big booms or holding them, and it comes up, comes down, it's that big long ass microphone. Yeah, actually I think they're only a little bit longer than drumstick, or my drumsticks, but they look huge. And I imagine in the late 60s, early 70s that those were quite common everywhere, and they're probably a little bit bigger.
And all those without microphones had cameras. Nikons, Nagras, Eclairs, Kodaks, Polaroids. There was even a finely equipped videotape team from the California Institute of Arts.
That's interesting that you would have an art, organization there. Though I do believe Thompson's writing, both his nonfiction and his fiction, should be classified as art, because the man had a way with words. He knew exactly the precise order of the words, when to throw in a profanity, when to throw in a drug reference, when to throw in an alcohol reference, when to throw in a sex reference, and make it flow like a river, just flow easy and calm and going.
The floor was a maze of cables. There were strobe lights taped to the ceiling. The photographer from Life was muscled out of the way by two CBS thugs from Los Angeles. The chief cameraman on Woodstock got ugly with the director of the British TV crew. There was constant, savage jostling for camera positions around the phone desk and the fatal blackboard where Allison and Vicky Colvard were putting the numbers together.
Yeah. I guess if you get to a point where you know you're going to lose, it's not as bad as being a nail biter the very end. Or at least, I don't know, from my perspective, that's the way it would be.
Bill Kennedy, a writer from Harper's, was maintaining his position in front of the telephone desk with a nasty display of elbow tactics summoned up on instinct from memories of covering the riot squad in Albany and San Juan.
Yeah. I guess field reporters that do a lot of go to a lot of crazy places and do a lot of crazy interviews and coverage get those instincts.
Writers from Life, Look, Scanlon's, Ski, The Village Voice, Fusion, Rat, even a Dutch correspondent from Suck moved constantly through the crowd, hassling everybody. The phones jangled with long-distance calls from AP, UPI, the TV networks, and dozens of curious strangers calling from Virginia, Michigan, and Oregon.
Yeah, you've caused a stir when you start getting people from other states, checking in on you,
demanding to know the results. One of the best quick descriptions of the chaos came later from Steve Levine, a young columnist for the Denver Post who had spent half the day as one of our poll watchers. It was madness and sadness and drinking and dope and tears and anger and harsh plaster smiles, he wrote. Parlor B.
Yeah, kind of crazy. We'll go ahead and call this video good here. Next time we'll continue on with the election, the sheriff's election. And until then, be a good human. Be good to other humans. Peace.
Hey, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are?